Hey guys, a very good evening. So today we have with us Navkiran. She's a junior from Punjab University and currently doing her PhD from Texas Tech University in US. So of course she's going to share a lot of insights related to the admission process in US and the life at US. But most importantly, I know her as a extrovert and a jovial and a frank person, and that you can see throughout the conversation. She has been really honest with her answers, and I'm sure you'll get to know a lot of things, not just about the admission process in US, but also about the internship process and how can one get an internship, because she has done her internship twice, once in the masters and once in bachelor's, and of course in Punjab University we also have a research project. She's working on thermal expansion of materials, and apart from that, of course, she's also working on some allied projects as well, and she has mentioned about that in the video as well. So without wasting any further time, let's just dive into the conversation with her. So hey Navkiran, it's nice having you on the platform. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I am great, and I guess a lot of students do ask me questions about US and European countries. So I guess they would be really benefited by our conversation today. So if you could just introduce yourself to the viewers of the channel.
Hello everyone. My name is Navkiran Juneja, and I come from Punjab, India. I've done my bachelor's and master's, both of them honors in chemistry from Punjab University, Chandigarh. I graduated in the year 2018, and right after graduating with the master's, I came to United States. I joined Texas Tech University for doctoral program, and currently I'm working with Dr. Kristen M. Hutchins. I'm currently working on organic materials chemistry, mainly on thermal expansion of solids and synthesis of cross-linked functionalized polymers.
Excellent. So, when someone is actually deciding to do a PhD, forget about whether they want to do a PhD or not. How did you come across this topic? Was it something that you had conceived in your master's, or it just so happened that you were introduced to this topic? How did it work out?
So I think after completed my bachelor's in 2016, I went for a summer internship at Indian Institute of Science Education and Research in Mohali. So I joined that for a summer internship, and I was working with Dr. Sanjay Singh, and he was really motivating professor for like PhD, and he always wanted people should go for higher education. And so I got really motivated with research because of all the projects and all the techniques I was working with. And then I did that internship twice, and they paid me like 10,000 rupees for like 2 months. So that was a good amount because I didn't earn anything before that. So I was very excited with for that. And then I joined and then while doing my master's in Punjab University, I had to do a research project for like 1.5 years. So yeah, things were really working out for me. And then I decided to do PhD. So I had done my master's and my 2 internships in inorganic chemistry. That was mainly on organometallic chemistry, and I was working a lot with moisture slash air sensitive materials or compounds. The research, or I didn't get like really good research when results when I was doing inorganic chemistry. So I was like, I don't want to go for dealing with all the air slash moisture sensitive chemicals. I'm like, I don't think so I can handle that. And then the results, it actually takes a lot of time because you have to repeat a lot of stuff, and then you're always scared of your compounds getting exposed to moisture. So it was like a big deal for me to work with those chemicals, and I never got any manuscript working with those chemicals. So I was like, I want to move my field towards organic chemistry because I used to really like studying organic chemistry. I never had done research in organic chemistry. So I had a thought in my mind. I was like, if I do research, it'll be organic chemistry mainly. And then I come here, and then you get a choice to interview professors, like whichever you are interested in. So I interviewed this professor. Her name is Dr. Kristen Hutchins, and she was really nice. So basically, when you join a group, it's not just your research field of interest. You actually look at like how motivating the professor is, how helpful she or he is, and then how is the lab environment, everything, like no politics should be there, or beating against each other, so that kind of things. And then I interviewed this professor, plus I also went through a graduate poster session. So there are like graduate students who are talking about their research. So I met this guy who was in Hutchins group, and I talked to him, and he was like explaining his research about active pharmaceutical ingredients. And I was quite fascinated about the applications of what that group was doing, and I didn't know the other topics like the thermal expansion or polymers like that group does. So I went back home and I looked at the manuscripts that that guy had already published. I looked at the background of my professor, like where she graduated from, what else she did. And then I came to know like she was really young, like she was an assistant professor at the age of 29, which is quite rare. And then she
Yeah.
was like a happy go person and, motivating me and smiling all the time, like, very nice. And then everybody used to talk good about her. Like nobody ever said, okay, don't join Hutchins group. Like that just sucks. So I went back home, I went through the research, and that's how I was like, okay, I'll keep this group as like my first option. And then maybe I look for more options if she doesn't select me, because there were like 8 or 9 people interested in that group at that time. So I was like, I'll just, say yes to her for once, and then I'll keep interviewing more professors. So I kept on interviewing like 2 or 3 professors. And then within a week, she just said yes to me. She was like, hey, Nav, like, I want you to join my group. I think you're a great fit for the group. And then I just joined her group. So, and the topics that I'm working on, it's still, I'm like, I still feel so fortunate because I'm working on those topics. It really fascinates me. And it has a really good amount of applications in the industry, especially in electronic industry. So,
Right, right. So I guess there are two things that I can take from here. One is that this is very like totally different to the scenario in India, wherein I don't think anybody can think about interviewing professors before joining any group. And the
right.
second part is like, so the internship, did you help you in a way, in the sense of not that what your interest is, but actually what your interest, like what does not interest you at all. So basically, your internship and your project helped you in choosing the right field for you rather than going for a field that you were already working on. So in some way, it did help you, right?
It did help. Yeah, it did help like making decisions. So I never wanted to work like with glove box chemistry because I want to end up in a R&D department, like in some company. So I was like, nobody uses, like there are hardly companies which uses glove box.
Right.
So that's why I was like that if I wanna end up in industry, it's better that I get experience in organic chemistry rather than organometallics.
Right.
That's
So
why.
before we come to the admission procedure, I had a couple of questions. First is that how did you get your first internship? Because that is something a lot of aspirants struggle with. So is it based on recommendation or profile, or how does one get through an internship? And the second question is, if in a couple of minutes you can just explain like what you do, like your research, like how does it have application in the industry?
Like applications of my research I'm doing in PhD or in summer
No,
internship?
in your PhD, the work
In
that
the
you're currently
PhD.
doing. Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing is if you want to end up like having an internship, you need to build up contacts. I think that's the biggest thing, or like the first thing you should consider, like whom to contact for an internship. Because if you email professors by yourself, they're not going to reply you. They'll be like, they're more busy in their research in their life and with their students, and they don't have time to reply you. So it's better to have a contact so that who can contact them on behalf of yours, and then that helps. So I contacted one of my professor in Punjab University. He helped me. So I was like, hey, like I want to do an internship in an industry, but the industry people, they hardly pay you for an internship. But then if you go to a university lab or an institution lab, they pay you good for an internship also. So I thought like I'll ask a professor who has contacts at ICER Mohali and he can like get me an internship. So when he contacted him, I had to email the professor I was interested in from my side, and then he called me for an interview. So I got interviewed for like 10 to 15 minutes, like why I wanted to join this lab and like questions like that, like how can I contribute to the lab. So I got asked like questions for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then he was like, okay, like I'll just have you, because he didn't have like more people joining that group. So he was like, okay, you are the one who approached me, so let me talk to the institution, like they'll pay you for, getting here, or working here. So
Yeah.
that's how I got an internship. And another thing I want to share is I'm going for another internship next month. So
Okay.
for summer, I have been hired at Hikma Pharmaceuticals. So it'll be like my first experience to be working in an industry here in a research and development department. It's very good to get an internship during your course. Like it helps you what you want, and where you want to end up in. So
Of course.
I'm very much interested to end up in a company or in a research and development department. So that's how I was looking for internships from last 4 months and got like several interviews. But then there was an interview on Wednesday afternoon, and then right after the interview, like after 2 hours, they send me an offer letter.
And I guess that is a one like you're going one step ahead to do like you'll build further contacts and networks. So I guess that's how networking grows. Yeah, and secondly about your research work, like in brief, just if someone is like who is not very much kind of like aware of the research that goes on. So in general, if you want to explain someone in your family or your friends what you're currently doing, just that much would be good.
So I started working on thermal expansion of solids. So basically, we try to design multi-component solids, basically like having two or more components interacting together using non-covalent interactions. And then you study the thermal expansion properties of that solid. So if you want to describe thermal expansion, like how the materials are expanding or contracting with respect to temperature changes. So that is what's thermal expansion called. If you want a daily life example, for example, railway lines, they have like gaps a little bit in between. It's because in summers those materials expand, and if they don't have room to expand, they'll just not decompose but deform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like thermal deformations can happen. So yeah, we try to study that, and its applications are mainly in electronic industry, like integrated circuits or multi-component ceramic capacitors, I believe. Yeah. And then they want that whatever circuits or whatever devices they are designing, it should have components which has matched coefficients of linear thermal expansion. So if for example, if I take a material, it has expansion coefficient of 20, for example 20 Kelvin or something like that, and then there's another one which has like 200. So one of the component will survive until 20 Kelvin, and the other one will survive until 200 Kelvin. But if one is not surviving, there is no point of having a device. The device will eventually undergo thermal deformation.
Right.
So that's the application part. Like it's mainly in the electronic industry, in guitars, integrated circuits, and thermomechanical actuators. And if somehow you can achieve larger thermal expansion properties, it has applications in designing sensors and composites as well.
Right.
So I've been working with 2 or 3 projects simultaneously, and some collaborations as well. So I've
Okay.
got like 2 publications done until now, and 2 are still in like peer review.
Right. Super.
Still working on that.
So, like, how much of like on a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you think your bachelor's and master's coursework is currently helping you, or in some way, in your project, in your PhD, like on a scale of 1 to 100, or is it like 80 to 90% you have learned while doing the project, and 10% comes from your bachelor's and master's? I'm asking this question because a lot of students focus a lot on that they want to work on a topic which they are good at theoretically, like in their master's or bachelor's. So I just want to know how much of that contributes to your project work according to you.
I think 80 to 90% I have learned after joining the lab, like about all the materials and everything. Obviously, like intermolecular interactions, everybody knows about that. Like non-covalent interactions, everybody knows about that. But how to use it in research, like I think I learned after coming here. And then there was this book that I used to read a lot. It's called Claydon,
Hmm.
right? There's
Yeah.
a yeah, that's my favorite organic book. Like I remember preparing for joint admission exam for masters. That's
Yeah.
called JAM.
ID jam.
I prepared, yeah, IIT Jam. And then I prepared for that. I think mostly I studied organic chemistry, and that to that book laden. And then that book helped me during qualifying Jam. I qualified it, but I didn't get admission because my rank was like 6 or 700, or maybe, yeah, 700 something.
So, okay, that's great. Um, Now coming back to the admission process. So first of all, did you apply to European countries as well? Because in general, what I have seen is that like I might be wrong, but in European countries you get a PhD faster because first of all there's generally no coursework in most of the European countries, and secondly you don't have to give GRE and TOEFL, which are kind of like expensive examinations that need preparation. So if like since you were saying that you did not apply to Europe, so what were the reasons for applying to US?
I think the first reason was language. Like every university demands, like, you should have a certificate of that language. And
Hmm.
then, we have been studying English from really long time now. So I wasn't afraid of, going to Canada or America. And second is, I think I had people from ICER Mohali who were actually applying for PhD or postdocs in Europe, and they had to decide their own thesis topic.
Okay.
Like you look for supervisors, you look for professors, and then you have to convince them like why you want to join that group. Like you have to be like really research oriented, and you have to do a lot of research on that topic which you're interested in. Otherwise the PI will be like, okay, why are you interested in my group, like how can you contribute and stuff like that. So yeah, one was that. And then I was like, I don't think so like I'll work that much and be like looking for research topics and looking for supervisors. And then you have to get like really good what do you say, recommendations from people, from your professors. And then I've seen people graduating with like a PhD from Europe, and that too without a publication. So because the program is limited to 3 years, and you only get money for those 3 years. Like once your 3 years are completed, you will not get your stipend or any scholarship or anything like that.
Okay.
And the other one was that you have to fight for scholarships or the stipends, like, and you don't get a teaching experience as well. Like it's not
Mhm.
mandatory in all the universities.
Okay.
So I think that's why I was like, there were plenty of reasons I didn't want to go to Europe, because here like you get to know, like you get more knowledge about uh like you get to do more of coursework. So you get like you have your basics clear and everything from that. Plus you get to teach. And I think whosoever apply to US for PhD will definitely get a stipend or assistantship. So I got teaching assistantship while I was coming here. And you get to apply a lot of scholarships even after getting the assistantship. So you make a lot of money in US. So that's how I was like, I was pretty much interested in. Plus my sister is here, she always motivated me for US, not
Okay.
even Canada. Like Canada also, you have to decide your professor and then apply to. If the professor says yes, only then you are allowed to apply to the university, and then
Okay.
you have to fight for assistantship.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so like when did you finally decide that okay you do want to do a PhD from US? Like were you in masters or was it from bachelor's? Like when was it?
I think it was after bachelor's. Like when I did that internship, I was like, I really want to do PhD. And my sister always motivated me. She was like, if you want to do PhD, like you should come here. Plus, I was like, I was never interested in giving like net, or I tried for net and gate, but then I was like, it's something like I won't be able to do. Like you have to study a lot for that. So I think
Okay.
GRE and TOEFL were the easy way outs for me, because GRE hardly takes like 3 or 4 months to prepare for, and TOEFL like 3 weeks you're done.
Okay.
So that's, I was like, GRE TOEFL seems pretty easy. And then I was towards like more money. I was like, I want to go to US and survive here. But then the first 2 years they are kind of complicated here, because you don't know you're gonna survive here or not. They can kick you out after 2 years if you
Okay.
don't qualify all the exams and all the seminars thing.
Right.
They can kick you out easily. So you have to work really hard after 2 years. So it's not that easy. Like, okay, GRE TOEFL done, okay, PhD done. No, it's not like that. You come here, you have to face a lot of things. You have to struggle a lot to be a PhD candidate.
Mhm.
So after that's done, then you can be a bit relaxed. You're like, okay, now you can enjoy your life a little bit.
Okay.
So
Like
yeah.
you get kind of, you become a candidate, yeah, right? So it's more like a permanent thing that now you are mostly gonna get a PhD and move out from here, kind of. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so someone who is currently in masters, how would you recommend them they go about maybe applying to like US universities, and what is the procedure like? If you could just tell in a bit of detail.
Okay, so it's like for the people who are already in masters, they can actually start preparing for GRE and TOEFL like right now, since it's April. I also started in April 2017 for GRE, because I plan on giving the GRE in July of 2017. So 3 or 4 months, I think they are enough to prepare for GRE. And then you start, like, you can take online coachings. You have Magoosh. It costs you hardly like 11,000 to get like a full GRE material, and then you can just sit at home and study for like, maybe starting you can give like 2 or 3 hours a day, but then later on when the exam is closed, so for like June or July, I don't think so there are classes, right, or anything. You have a vacation for June and July, so you can devote like more time towards GRE. And when the exam is closed, just try to give like sample exams, which are available online through ETS website or through Magoosh. So you can do that, and I think 3 or 4 months are pretty good to prepare for GRE. And once you're done with GRE, give TOEFL exam. TOEFL exam doesn't take long. You have an online website called noteful.com where you get free material for TOEFL. So you give that. It hardly takes like 2 to 3 weeks. It doesn't take that long to prepare for TOEFL. It's pretty easy. And then after doing that, you have to start writing your statement of purpose. So once you start writing your statement of purpose, just try to be honest about whatever you are writing in that, and be like a little bit creative with words and stuff like that. And then talk more about research, like why are you interested in research. Like
Mhm.
I wrote a lot about my internships and my master's research project. I was like, okay, I have done this, I have done that, and I want to do this. If you're trying to switch fields, like I did, like I was in inorganic chemistry first, and then I wanted to switch to organic chemistry. Make sure you make a connection between the two, like why you wanted to make a switch. And then maybe after that, you can talk a little bit about the PIs you are interested in. So I would say, like, when you shortlist the university, you don't look at like the ranking of the university. Just look at like what the PI is, and how much good he is, and your research topic you are interested in. So look for that. After you're done like looking for your research field, then after that you will look at like cost of living in the city, and like how the area wise, and if you know people over there, just talk to them, take some guidance from them. I'm like, I'll be happy to help people if they want. And then apply for universities. I applied for like 6 universities, and I just saw like I took like the 3 upper universities, and that too with the PIs I was interested in, and then 2 mediocre universities, and then one like low level university.
Okay.
But I most of them were like, I looked at the PIs first, like, okay, this university has like good amount of PIs in organic chemistry, like they're doing good in OChem, so I'll just go for applying in this university. But then there will be some universities which you will like, but their demands will be a lot. Like they'll ask for GRE chemistry. I never thought of
Okay.
giving GRE chemistry, and I think it was too late for me to take GRE chemistry at that time, because it was like December 2017. I was like, okay, it's too late now. Like if somebody's asking for GRE chemistry, just leave that. But if somebody's interested in doing GRE chemistry, that would be great. It increases your, options to apply or to shortlist universities.
Right.
So,
So
and then you
basically,
take the recommendations from professors.
right. So if I talk about the examination part, then the prerequisites are GRE and TOEFL, and then there is an optional prerequisite of a GRE subject test in chemistry, right? So like you
Okay,
said,
so
yeah. So like you said, TOEFL is easy, but I guess it would be easy for someone who has a good command over English, right? For someone who struggles, it might be a difficult task.
right. For them, so I had people I know like who couldn't make like above 90, but I think TOEFL these days are pretty easy, and you get to have a lot of material online. It's just about how you do it. So for speaking section, I can guide people. So what for speaking section, what I did is I prepared templates.
Okay.
So you know like what type of question one, question two, like you'll have all the format of how exam will be. So you just prepare templates for speaking section, and before the speaking section you have like a 10-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes is enough to eat, so just eat for 5 minutes, and then for the next 5 minutes just write the templates on a on a piece of paper that that has been provided to you. So
Okay.
you do that, and I think that will help you to go through the speaking section. For listening section, I would suggest people to watch more and more of Hollywood movies if they can, or like listen to more of TED Talks, or some news or something like that. For reading, I would say read books if you want, like maybe related to your field of study, or maybe some novels, or maybe fictions
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Or you can read New York Times, Economic Times, like English newspapers, the Tribune, so that helps to improve your English.
Right.
And then for what else? Reading, right? Reading done. Okay, writing is just practice. So you just have to practice writing. And even in GRE, you have a section of analytical writing. It is of 6 points.
Okay.
So you practice writing for that also. So uh, that helps your writing section in TOEFL also. So
Okay.
I don't think it's that difficult to crack TOEFL. I think it's pretty easy. You just need like studying again and again, again and again for 3 weeks. 3 or 4 weeks should be enough.
So, according to you, what are the decent scores that one can apply with when it comes to TOEFL and GRE?
For GRE, I think I had a pretty low score. Like I was very disappointed with my GRE score. I scored like 302, although I aimed for like above 320. But I think I was pretty much nervous when I was giving GRE. But TOEFL, I don't think so. Like people really care about like how. Okay, so there are like minimum requirements for each section.
Yeah.
So some universities will demand, okay, 25, 25, 25, 25. Like each of them should be 25, but some of them will be like, okay, 22 should be enough. So I think that depends on university to university you are applying to. Like I had a score of 101, but then there were people who had score of 117, and then there were people who had score of 89, and they all got to universities. They all got admissions here.
Right.
So I think it all depends on universities to universities.
But is it fair to say like a 90 out of 120 in TOEFL and 300 out of 340 in GRE? That is decent. Like that is a decent enough score to apply, right?
Right. Yeah. Some people they got admission with 296 also.
Okay.
So I think it depends on universities to universities. But I think if somebody is getting close to 300, I think it's pretty good. You don't have to redo it.
Okay.
Like 300 is a counts as a good score.
Right. So, and
Mhm.
coming to the statement of purpose. So, in the statement of purpose, like for example, the first half is where you describe your experiences throughout your academic, journey, and the second half is connecting that maybe why you want to join that particular university and what are the PIs you are interested in. So, a couple of questions over here. How did you like a lot of students struggle with the fact that how do they like why they want to join that particular university, how do they justify it, and secondly, did you did you name multiple PIs while you were applying to the university, or was it just one single PI?
So I think I didn't apply to university which just had like one or two organic chemistry PIs. Like I wanted to get in a university where I can have an option to choose between at least 5 or 6 organic chemistry PI. But you cannot list all of them, right? Like okay, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in this, like all of the OChem professors. So how did I decide is I used to look at their background. I looked at number of publications they had per year. I had looked at the research interests, and if it used to fascinates me, I used to include it. Like, okay, I wanna contribute to this, and then
Right.
I wrote like, okay, so I read this publication from that group, and I was very much fascinated because my research interest is also kind of similar to what that group does. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So you will have to like mention like how that professor interests you, like which publication did you read that inspired you to include his name in the statement of purpose. So that's kind of useful if you go through their background check, if you go through their what is that, the research description, if you go through the number of publications per year. So I think that's kind of useful to decide like what professor names to include in your statement of purpose.
Right. So as a checklist, you have your GRE score, your TOEFL score. Optional is GRE subject test. Then you have your statement of purpose. Then you have your grades, and
Recommend,
then
yeah,
recommendations.
recommendations. They are
Right,
very useful.
right.
Yep. So
So
it's better to take recommendations from like variety of universities. Like I did, like I had one recommendation from ICER Mohali, and then one my own PI, and then one from the department, like anybody from the department. So that's kind of useful if you have an internship, and then there are different people who can recommend you.
of course, right.
Mhm.
If I have to, according, like, of course, nobody knows, but in your opinion, what is it? Like, if you have to, let's say, prioritize them, that what is the most important and which is the least important among these points that we listed. So, what would you say is, first of all, the most important, according to you, among all these aspects?
I think most important is your research experience. Like how much research have you done before? Like the projects you have worked on, that actually helps people here to decide if to choose this person or not. Oh, this person has a good amount of experience. Let's just take him. Like he'll be good contribution to the university.
Okay.
So I think if you have good amount of research experience, that will help. Second is your statement of purpose, that says everything like about your experience and things, and then GRE TOEFL.
So you had an
Recommendations are
interview
also.
before you got like before you were offered a position. Were you interviewed for this particular
So
university?
from Texas Tech, I did not get any interview. I just got the offer letter in January, the same year that I was coming here.
Okay.
And then there was interview from University of Idaho, where they were interviewing just to know my English skills, like my speaking skills. So I got admission from there, and then Texas Tech. I chose Texas Tech because this has more organic chemistry professors working in organic chemistry, and then there were in University of Idaho there was just two professors. I applied there because one of the professor from Punjab University asked me to apply there, so I just applied there. But they just interviewed me to know my speaking skills, like how good am I in speaking English, and then they send me the offer letter like within 2 days.
Right.
And then that university, the Department of Chemistry was unranked, so there were like 2 3 factors that they were like, okay, no, not to apply there, like.
So I like your point where you mentioned that the priority should be research experience, because I feel that research experience and recommendations go hand in hand. Because if you have a good amount of research experience, that means you have worked under several research groups, and like automatically you will have recommendations from them. So if you have a good research experience, I am guessing that one would also have a good set of recommendations as well. And then statement of purpose, like you said, is the next big thing. And then I guess, is it fair to say that GRE and TOEFL are just you can say qualifiers? Like you just need to get this amount of marks, and
The US for anything, it's not just PhD. If you want to enter US, GRE and TOEFL are the major requirements for them. They're like, okay, you need to have these two exams. Like, if you want to do PhD in India, you have to have NET or GATE, right? Similarly, if you want to enter US, you need to have GRE / TOEFL, both of them. So
one thing that students worry about a lot, and if you have some idea, maybe you can share it. In bachelor's and master's, there are so many distractions. So sometimes what happens is, like, after masters, once one decides that they want to get serious about their career, but by that time the damage is done and the grades are pretty low. So um, what would you say? How important are grades are? For example, if somebody is scoring around 65% in their masters and they have 70% in their bachelors, or somewhere around that, how much should he or she worry about the grades when applying to US?
So I think I've had seen people with 52% getting admission in US. Once again, recommendations matter. Not everybody who has good grades is good in research.
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, it's my personal experience. So it's not like everyone who is like really good in grades can can land good in research. I've seen people with a 4 GPA, but then their research is like doesn't work for them, like they don't get results. But then there are people with 2.75 GPA and they're doing really good with their research. So there are some people who could not qualify for cumulative exams, but then they published 3 papers in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you should not stop trying.
Yeah.
You can still get in there. It all matters like upon your like working ability, like how much hardworking you are, how much dedicated you are, how much effort you put to get GRE and TOEFL crack, and then how much your recommendations are helping you. So don't stop trying. It's not like your bad grades are going to influence your future. You can still do really good in research even if you don't have good grades.
Okay, nice. I guess
Mhm.
that would be comforting for a lot of candidates. One more thing is, like even though you and like you of course, and I would be aware of these facts, but a lot of students do ask me this question that what is the stipend like in US, and does everyone get a stipend who gets admitted to US? And secondly, how is that enough to survive, or is it enough that one can also save a good amount?
Yeah, so I think when you come to US, it actually depends on like state you are going to. So like in Texas, you don't have state tax. So and also the cost of living is pretty low. So you get like I get like $1,900 per month, but then after taxes, it gets down to like 1,700 ish. And then my cost of living, like the room rent is pretty low here in Lubbock because the cost of living in Lubbock is pretty low, and I get to save like 300 $400 because I like to party a lot. So you can exclude that thing. Like there are people who can save more than what I do, but I like to party a lot. So that's why I don't get to save a lot. But there are people who can save like 500, 600, depending on where they are living. Like there are apartments costlier than this one. Like if you want to end up without any roommates, your rent will be like 800, $900. So if you're making like $1,700, you are of course not gonna save a lot if you're staying in like one bedroom apartment. But I'm living with roommates right now, so my rent is like 400, 450 something, like with utilities. And then after that, like your tuition fees and your health insurance, it's like 1,800 per semester.
Okay.
And then your groceries is like 200 to 300. So that's in Texas. But if you go to California, I think you can make more money, but at the same time just remember the cost of living is very high. You
Okay.
go to New York City, you go to states like New Jersey or California, the cost of living is very high. So even if you're making 2,500 in California, after taxes it's going to come down to 2,100, and
Mhm.
you don't get good apartments in like less than $1,000.
But even there, if you have colleagues or friends, do they end up saving some amount at least? Okay.
And then it's not just like your assistantship, you get a lot of opportunities to make more money. Like you can apply for external fellowships, external scholarships, so you get to end up like in conferences, go for poster competitions, and I made, so last year during lockdown we had virtual conferences from Canada, so I got like a outstanding poster award, and I made like $150 from there. And then there was like department poster competition, I made like $250 from there. And then there was recent graduate poster competition, I again made $150. So it's like you get a lot of opportunities to get money based on what you do.
Right.
So and you can apply for external fellowships. You get, so I'm an international student here, so we apply for study abroad scholarships every semester, and you get like $500, maybe $250, maybe $300. So you get ample of chances to make money basically.
What's the one major difference? Not one, in fact, there could be many more as well, that you found. Like you have had plenty of experience back there in India, and you have now a plentiful experience in America as well. So, what are the some key differences in not just in the lab but overall in the research culture that you found um, in India and abroad?
I think in India, like I have seen the lab environment is pretty strict, but that depends on the PIs again, like how your PI is able to control the group. I have seen pretty much good people like here. I won't say like I don't want to generalize everything, but I think lab environment and like in India, like it involves a lot of politics. Like everybody is like competitive against each other, like they're jealous of each other, and they're like not maintaining a good healthy environment in the lab.
Mhm.
Nobody's really interested talking about their research with people, so I don't want to generalize it, but it's just my experience. Like people are really helpful. and they're like, okay, like being a PhD student, if I don't know how to use NMR, they'll be like, okay, I can teach you. Like they'll not judge you.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if I ask them, okay, I don't know what's proton, they'll not judge me. They'll tell me what's a proton. So,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that. And being a graduate student, it's really bad on my part because I forget things sometimes. But whenever I ask my professor, like, hey, like I'm having struggle with this again, she will never say no to me. She'll be like, okay, come down to my office and we'll talk about it, or via Zoom meeting. Like she will be ready to help me again and again, again and again. And then she's like, that's what I'm here for, to help
Mm-hmm.
you. So that's the key differences. But if you do that in India, I think professors will be like, get out of my lab right now.
Yeah,
Like they
right.
expect a lot from you, I think. So
Right.
maybe that's the main difference, I feel.
Okay. So,
Mhm.
like, I guess we all do know about the benefits that one gets abroad. Like, for example, more funding, better labs, and more flexibility, and
Mhm.
whatnot. Like, I guess everybody does know about the benefits of doing a PhD abroad. But what about on the contrary? Do you think there's any particular benefit of doing PhD in India than abroad? One
I
or
don't
one
know
particular
what to say.
aspect or in one particular aspect where you think that okay, you would I mean you would say that uh, Indians like a PhD in India is better in that aspect, or research in India is better in that aspect when compared to abroad, not just US but in general I'm asking.
So in general, like if I want to do PhD in India, it would be just because I don't have to cook. Like you'll get mess, you'll get hostels, food everywhere. Like you don't have to cook. Okay.
Okay.
And then here, like we are cooking all by ourselves. I haven't seen my family in like last 1.5 year. So
Yeah.
I think that's the emotional part, like where, and I miss my friends. They're back in India. Like they miss me a lot. Like whenever I think I came back to India, I went back to India in December 2019,
Mhm.
and there was not a single day I had time for myself. Like no, there were so many people I had to meet, my relatives, spend time with family, spend time with friends.
Mhm.
So but that's the good part. Like if I was in India, I would have not missed that. Like at least I could have got some emotional support. I would not have my emotional breakdowns here. Like whenever I'm in stress, nobody's here to talk to me, right?
Right.
So that's why, like, I think the only reason why I would do PhD in India is because I'll be close to my family and food, and
Okay.
I don't have to struggle a lot by myself. So,
Okay.
but that's a good thing being here. You get more independent. You
Mhm.
know what's good for you and what's not.
Yeah.
So you get the choice of. But yeah, PhD in India, I think if people are doing PhD in India, they are basically super intelligent, like cracking net, like people like you, like super intelligent, super smart. So I think,
Nothing like that. Though there's one particular advantage that I would like to highlight. So it's not, I guess, apart from the personal front, which you talked about, which is absolutely right. There is one particular aspect which is, um, in one way, you can say because of the lack of resources, there are some universities which are like which are doing really great work and publishing good articles as well. So what happens is in India, because like you mentioned, which is all true, there is a lot of politics. The environment is in some labs, the environment is very toxic, and you're not very free with your PI. Like you just mentioned that you can talk to her about anything, and she encourages you to do well. So those kind of aspects are not seen over here majorly in India. So that kind of makes a candidate really independent, I would say, to some extent, because they start finding things by themselves, because there's literally no one to help. And because of the lack of resources, one kind of like invents things wherein because they have to get the work done somehow, even if the resources are not there, and plus the hard work. So I guess in that aspect, yeah, it's not an advantage, but as a candidate it makes you a really tough person if you end
I
up
agree
doing
with that.
with
That's why I'm like, people are super intelligent who are doing PhD in India. Like, yeah, if somebody has really, like, really passionate about research and not just getting a PhD, I think India is a good option.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was really nice talking to you, Navkiran. And like you said, since if anyone has any kind of queries, and they are free to contact you. So if you don't mind, I'll give you the I'll give your email ID down in the description box if you don't mind, so that if anybody has any queries, they could contact you.
I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I don't mind that.
Right, right. Okay,
I don't
great.
mind helping people. Yeah.
Thank you so much once again, and really happy to have you on the platform. It was lovely interacting with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Happy to help everyone.
Hey guys, so I'm a verified educator on Unacademy, and along with that, I'm also available on the Unacademy Plus platform where I'm taking live classes along with other educators. So, in case you're interested in attending the live classes, you can subscribe to the Unacademy Plus platform using my referral code, that is SETHI, and that will give you 10% discount. Alright, and in case you're not interested in attending the live classes, you can watch the free courses that are available on the Unacademy. For that, all you need to do is go to the Unacademy website or download the Unacademy Learning app and search my name over there, that is ACT. Once you do that, you will get the access to all the free courses that are available on the Unacademy platform. Alright,